I also think that there's some other lower profile, more grassroots folks, like the League of Minnesota Cities is a place that we can go and talk with folks about these issues. They have a diversity focus group that is all HR folks from the League of Minnesota Cities, so membership there. So I think there's that. And I know Itasca is such a high profile thing. I'm not sure if we'll get a conversation with them because they're just high profile. But like the League of Minnesota Cities, I mean, there are all these smaller organizations where people are actually doing real work. Not to say that Itasca is not, but where people are really doing solid work that we can approach, which is why I was saying, let's go to chambers.
Okay.
Let's go to, and I know that the folks.
Chambers with presentations.
Yep.
Okay.
I know that we may want to connect with Deed. I know. But they may have some ways that either we can ask them for help or we can offer them some assistance to give us connections to more employers. So,
There's a small business employers table called SCORE. SCORE.
yeah.
Small business employer. Okay, so that's not the acronym. Okay. I need more
For
coffee.
retired executives. That's
Yes.
what it stands for.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna write down the small business table.
But they have a small business table. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and they,
Yeah.
because they're old executives in a sense, they have connections with folks, and we can even tap their brain. They might be folks we want to have at the table to tap their brains about how is it executives are thinking about some of these things, or how have they thought about it in the past. So,
And I think that can even be, a sort of a classroom venue in a sense that, if you were in a classroom and you were to bring a speaker into a classroom, that, the students would be prepared with questions, ideas, and that we'd be able to say, okay, you're here today, we need to pick your brain today, that's why you're here. That's what I could personally go into SCORE and say, even though we'd still like to get connected with all of your, pieces, we still also want to know these certain things. Would you mind coming and having the first step with the Metro Talking Circle by just letting us pick your brain?
And
Yeah.
also we'll be able to
Right.
provide some solutions too.
Right.
yeah, that'd be great.
And we can go right back to this too. I want to try to have brainstorm stuff on each area. One area that I can think of with the individuals that I can't stop thinking about is community involvement. And I know you guys have that already with your direct service. Do you have any direct service
I don't know.
besides me?
Yes.
And you have direct service. So
Getting staff out volunteering?
no,
or
the
what do you-
individuals. Well, us as individuals. I mean, we need to find a way to hear the voices of the people that we're talking about.
Oh, okay.
So staying connected to community, like what's it called? Grass bites. What's it
Grassroots?
called? Yeah, grassroots, but bites. Breakfast bites.
Ah.
Breakfast bites. Breakfast bites. I mean, different local things, like, trying to find out where the elders' tables are and go sit and listen
Yeah.
to them.
And I would say those are things we don't have to recreate. I think.
No.
I mean, yeah, because the networks are obviously there. There's, what's the Northway Trust, Community Trust?
Okay.
Is that right?
I don't know.
Yeah, Northway Community Trust, they do a lot of focus groups around all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
If we ask them to do a focus group for us around certain issues, I don't think we have any issues about doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are all these community networks of folks, and maybe that's a brochure or something that we put together as well, of because people often it's lazy and it's sick, but people will call me and say, where are all the Somalis in your community? Where do I find them?
They happens all the
Who's the
time.
leader of the Somali community? And I'm like,
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, there's not everybody has a Martin Luther King standing up.
Wow.
And so, but maybe putting together either for ourselves a database of where are all the community
Website.
partnerships and that kind of stuff. It can be on a website.
But also a brochure.
But I mean, at least something that we have a database where we know what that stuff is, and we can be a resource to other people. If
It's
that
like
makes sense.
community, like small like community centers, like we would have.
Yeah, come on, some other community centers or.
So that businesses could access these community
Um,
centers, or what's the?
Or at least that we, so if our agency said, you know, we want to do a focus group on so-and-so, we actually know where to start creating a focus group. Or
Oh,
where,
okay.
where some of the the centers of activity, and not necessarily places, because I think there may be catalogs where people have the places, but I don't know if I'm making sense or not, but
So they can hear the voice of the people.
basically.
A place where they can go get the information.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's huge, and I think that has to be a major part of what we're doing, because we can connect with stakeholders and people all day to form this initiative to help African Americans and Native Americans in disparities, but yet we're not talking to the community and to the
Right.
people. So I think that has to be a huge part of what we're doing. And then to have that information too, so even government folks that might come and say, well, you know, we don't know. I mean, when I always say the community this, we need the community, inclusive of the community. It's like, how are you gonna go get that? And we will have that information compiled in a database and say, well, hey, there's this meeting at 8 a.m., there's this
Right.
meeting on
That-
Tuesday, there's this.
That's the kind of stuff I was talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, that's what you were trying to.
That's what I was
Yep,
trying to
I
say.
like that
Yeah.
idea a lot.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really important to think about there is ways in which we can respect those community leaders for their time and expertise, and make
Mm.
sure that they're not just getting,
Exploited?
yeah, I was gonna say pimped.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
She said-
It's the same thing.
Yeah, we wrote a grant application that had that word in it, and we were like, maybe not so much.
Oh, it counts.
Yeah, talking about social service pimping. But, so one of the things with the allyship project and the community leaders that I'm working on there, one of the things that they really have a ton of experience with and don't want to repeat is getting brought into various agencies and various initiatives to be the token
Right.
voice of the people. Often don't get any kind of compensation for that, often help organizations raise money or other kinds of resources, and then it goes everywhere but
Right.
Mhm.
taking care of their
That's
basic
huge.
needs.
Yep.
Yeah, that is huge.
And I have no idea how to do that.
Well, I know there are lots of organizations that have done things, and we're not at this step yet.
Inclusive of the community.
Right. There are lots of organizations that have hired community leaders, like through VISTA positions or things like that, in order
Mhm.
to do the community organizing work that they do, but to give them some support to do that.
Okay.
Even simple things like making sure that if we're inviting people to our meetings or something like that, that we are thinking about transportation and childcare and stuff like that people may need in order to be involved in work like this.
Right.
Recognizing that we are all paid for it in one way or another, but there's lots of community leaders who aren't, and who could fill up more than a full-time job with all of the requests that they get from
Right.
agencies
And that goes back to, you know, the only way to disseminate or be a management of funds is to be an entity.
Right.
And so I have a friend right now, his company, his job, he wants his company to be the single place for if you have any questions about college student government in universities and colleges, you go to him.
Dr. Roach?
He's got every piece of information that one could get. He's collecting it by states. He's collecting it by, so he is just he will be the place for all student government information. And to get the information, you got to pay for it. Or you can become a member of his organization, and then you get that stuff for free. And so, we can get as sophisticated as we want, and we can, make sure that community leaders get what they deserve for all that kind of stuff. It just means that it takes a bit more organization. And what's that?
It takes us being that entity.
It would take us to be that. because there are no watchdog organizations to protect folks from that kind of stuff. We could be that organization, but that also means that's a heck of a lot bigger than what my original scope was
Right.
in terms of participation. Which doesn't mean I can't change that, but if we're going to be the protector of the community as well as providing resources to the community, I mean that's.
Right, well, I mean, you're right, that may be an instance where if we wanted to host a community organizer through a VISTA position or something like that, we would need to be an entity to do that. And if we decide that that is gonna make it onto our priority list in 3
Mhm.
years or whatever, then.
What about, would it
They
not
could always
be-
come to Tree First or UAC.
Like for instance, I was sitting on the Native American Mentoring Initiative and I sat on
Norma
it.
Smith?
Huh?
With Norma Smith?
Yeah. And with this, I was a Comstock, the only Native American person in the whole entire Big Brothers Big Sisters at this time. So that's why I sat on this board as a Promise Fellow, which was kind of funny. So sitting there, bringing in all of this information, I knew I was only going to be there 1 year. And I, asked them, well, I'm doing this work for you right now, but who's going to do this work for you next year? And, they said, well, Big Brothers Big Sisters is no longer taking Promise Fellows after this year, so what are we going to do? And so we had decided that maybe another agency would apply for one. So would it be, something to like have Tree Trust or someone apply for somebody to be a Promise Fellow with their part of their, description being that they work on this Metro Talking Circle. For instance, I was hired on at Big Brothers
Yeah, that's
Big
a good idea.
Sisters
Maybe our
to
administrative assistant
help
too.
out with the Native American Mentoring Initiative. Now, the reason why, and I will say
But we'd
this
have to
part,
be an entity though.
No.
NAMI wasn't at the time, actually.
Okay.
And the reason why I was even there, though, and hired on for that description is I would have to say to Tree Trust, we're getting something out of being in the Metro Talking Circle, right?
Right.
And for that reason,
Big time.
we would, put funding towards a Promise Fellow. We were getting, I think it was like $700,000 or something like that for 2 years for, putting mentors with Native American students.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal for me to be a part of that initiative.
Right.
That's why I was hired on with that part of, my description being that. So, if that was the case, it would really have to be somebody's agency that, would benefit from having somebody here on a regular basis or
Meaning
and or working
EAC
for us.
or Tree Trust or one of the ESPs?
Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
But that's
We're doing
the
the same
potential.
thing with Minnesota Without Poverty.
Okay.
Jewish
Okay.
Community Relations Council, I think, got a grant to hire a person, and 80%
Yeah.
of his job is working with Minnesota Without Poverty,
Okay.
because Minnesota Without Poverty didn't have the organizational capacity to seek the grant or to hire somebody directly or any of that kind of stuff. So we're doing the same thing, where it was written in at the very beginning that, you're getting the pot of money, but you're shipping the labor out to this initiative because it's consistent with your organizational goals.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean,
So this would be a potential client that would come and be a part of the Metro Talking Circle.
I mean,
who knows?
Okay.
it probably, it could be, but
Okay.
it wouldn't have to, it
But
wouldn't
that's
have to.
actually a good
I mean,
idea though.
It
to have
is a good
somebody,
idea.
client be a part
Instead
it.
of like going out and getting a college student or something to fulfill that position, I would
Right.
get like a client to do it.
Yep.
Absolutely, and it could be somebody that continuously like changes over a year then, so somebody else gets the
Yes.
experience. It's just like a Promise Fellow.
Yeah,
Okay.
But,
all that's supportable.
of
Okay.
course, yep. So,
And that's
Yeah.
for the individual.
there's 2 ideas then about how this work here could be disseminated to the community without all of us having to, that we can still be a talking circle, but I think what we're talking about here is if we're going to get really serious about it, it's really gonna take a lot more time than just once or twice a month, talking here.
Well, I mean, and honestly, we do. Like, I was off work last week and went to 2 different meetings.
Well, I think that's
to
why
do,
we're
you know.
here, is because we're just naturally those sort of people, but the fact of the matter is that we're so we are so much those sort of people that we could probably end up doing so much with this that we realize there's just not enough time to do everything that we want to do. So how great would it be if we had somebody else doing this for 80% of the time? You know, doing the presentation, they'd be hired to do the presentations, you know, and, you know, or be the coordinator of that.
Yeah, I
particular
was gonna say,
thing.
cause I want to be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Make sure we get heard.
It's
Jesus.
interesting. I mean, it's an interesting idea that I think some other places are doing.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent idea. I think we could definitely utilize that. And also I wanted to add with the, you know, the exploitation of community members too. I think that's why it's important to be involved, you know, and that's why I want to be involved with Breakfast Bites. Cause I don't wanna just go there just to pick their brains, you know, it's like I wanna go and be involved. I wanna hear what the elders are saying. That one woman said, this woman who was a lawyer, and she made a comment at the meeting and said, I just don't understand why they're not tapping the resources of our community. We have a rich, you know, we used to take care of each other. And I was like, wow, that's such a profound statement. I mean, we need more of that information, you know, and I think elders and people would be open to hearing us and us just coming straight forward and just saying, hey, look, there's a problem, you know, in the community, and we have the power and the position in these meetings to talk to these people. What would you want us to say?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I actually did that at my job club. I said, if you guys could tell the government anything, or if you could tell them anything, what would you say? You know, had a whole day conversation with them about that.
That's awesome, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I think, and to Andre's point, I mean, there may be a role for us to be kind of a watchdog. That may be something that we choose to do. I just wanna make sure that in our own dealings as a Metro Talking Circle, that we're just conscious about how much of people's time that we're asking for, the work that we're asking for, and the fact that it is often unpaid and unsupported in some really significant ways.
Yeah. And I also want to say, you know, to your point, and I can't remember your name, sister. Courtney. To Courtney's point, I'm often the token black wherever I am. Yeah. And so there comes a certain level of responsibility that you start to understand.
Right.
That's what's going on. And so I could shun that and say, I'm never going to be the token again. Or I can take that opportunity and say, here's an opportunity for me to really broaden some gates and make people think in a much broader fashion, because I'm not the end all be all. And so, you know, the tokenism stuff, that's just part of what it means to be in Minnesota, you know. And so, you know, I don't think we have to be so protective of folks, because folks will know how much time that they can or will give to any one thing, you know. So, you know, I want to be respectful of their time and what we're asking, but I don't think we have to worry too much about that kind of stuff. I think as a philosophy, we should remind people who are connecting with folks, now, you know, these folks are not getting paid, and they're taking out their time to help you with your thing.
right.
You understand that, right? You know, so, you know,
And
that
that's if
kind
we're
of
going
stuff,
and having
but-
like one-on-one interviews or something, or like, you know.
Yeah, or even, I mean, even in any of the presentations and that kind of stuff, you know, part of the thing is, you know, these community experts that and maybe that's the term that we use for the people who come in from the community to help us, that they're community experts, so that they get off of being MFIT participants, or they get off of, you know, whatever their title is, but they are community experts, and so we're gonna invite those community experts. That just came to me.
That was good. I wrote that down.
I like
I wrote
that.
that down, but,
It's
you
It's
know,
part of our
it's yours.
goal here, right? Is to empower.
Yeah.
To,
Yep.
right, and that
Yeah.
would be a great way to do it. I mean, unfortunately, I think a lot of people dwell on labels, and we would be putting a label on that, but we could play into that a little bit. That
Yeah.
if you know, the first thing they hear is community expert.
Yeah.
Don't need to think about if they're an unfit participant or
Yeah.
anything else. I think that's great.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the young lady that was here before, Serena, that was one of her things, because we kept referring to people as, MFIP recipients,
Or Vera, you're talking about Vera.
Vera,
Yeah.
Okay.
Vera, the very visceral,
Mhm.
visceral Vera.
Mhm.
But that was one of her complaints, that as we were talking around the table, we were talking about people in very demeaning kinds of ways, although we are trying to help. So I think that community expert piece would be extremely important to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, and how great would it be that they do get to start seeing themselves in that sense? I mean, that's the biggest challenge. I was asked the other day what the biggest challenge was in my job, and I said because a lot of my participants do not see themselves as being like helpful to their community. Yet when I asked them, in our last workshop, how do you think you could be helpful to your community? They had tons of ideas, but they had no idea how to start, and they were pretty sure that nobody would give them the chance to do it.
Because as a people, which goes back to, some of the stuff that's taken place, they've been looked at as needy.
Right.
And so that's what's in their mind is like, I need and I have to,
And can we put that in the vision? Something about shifting the paradigm from recipients to, I don't
Contributors?
know, contributors, or
I
something.
think that was also in our, on the sheet of paper that I'm
Okay.
hanging up in my office.
Okay.
Yes. But yeah.
But shifting from, yeah.
And I almost think, making an MFIP, just because when you guys are talking, I was just thinking is like, that can get patronizing, because then we're saying we're speaking for the people, the MFIP participants, African American Native participants and stuff, but to say that we have identified this issue in the community, and it affects us because you're working in this particular aspect, you're working in this aspect, I'm working in this aspect, you're working, so it's not just about our MFIP participants, it's about, this is the issue from the reports that have been given and what we've seen. So I think that'll help too. And
But I also think that goes to our agencies, because our agencies typically are receiving we operate from a deficit model that we look at. We try to, I don't know, I don't want to go too far back into at least our history of stuff, but we do operate from a deficit model. If we can flip that, to a strengths-based model.
and it starts in K through 12. Okay, so,
I think the other idea that came up,
Switching to social services.
yeah, the other idea that came up before was that newsletter with the chamber.
newsletter with the chamber.
Yeah,
Yep.
or the piece that highlights successes in the community.
Newsletter.
If we can get a piece in the chamber's newsletter.
Oh yeah, they would. That's another thing that is a help, because they're always looking for articles. They're always looking for something.
Sweet. And then as far as like the direct service workers, or is what you said, 7 presentations
7
for
presentations.
non-white domestic cultural competition. Thanks to Jill Hilgebrett.
Yes,
Non-white
the domestic cultures.
Can you say more about what that is?
Yeah, it's Native Americans and African Americans.
Well, yeah, I know that.
Oh.
I meant the presentation.
Training?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It
You
would
haven't
be
developed it
something
yet.
we would probably develop. I would imagine it's something around historical trauma, around the post-traumatic stress disorder, and then the dysfunctions of human behavior that we see now based on those 2 pieces.
And then her
That'd
allyship
be
stuff would be great to accompany that with, especially if we're going to do presentations to the actual service workers, because that's what her project is
Okay.
how do you effectively work with, but it would just be specific.
The allyship is looking more at a class lens,
Mhm.
which certainly feeds into this because we're talking about employment and poverty disparities. We don't, we address some related issues of race, but we aren't specifically talking about any particular cultures or racial groups. But yeah,
Theoretically.
yeah, the general concept is definitely in line.
Yeah.
Um,
One of the things that I've really come to understand in terms of a political is understanding that a number of the system, from a systemic kind of view, a number of the things that are happening in our world today are systemic, and they are. We have often talked about them as being emotional responses to things. For example, racism. We typically talk about that as someone hating someone else or being bigoted or whatever. And it's come to my attention that that's not really what it is. What racism is at its core is a tool. And it's a tool to manipulate political resources as well as natural resources and human resources. And so if we can look at it that way, we can take away some of that baggage around the emotional stuff and say, really kind of zone in specifically on how is this tool being used, and then how do we repurpose this tool is a good way to look at that. I gotta write that down too.
Right, did you record it?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So 7 trainings regionally?
Yeah, let's say regionally, or
Okay.
I mean, if we want to be specific enough and say, which area is this?
Who?
Which area are you
Oh,
working on?
direct service workers.
Oh, direct service
Non-white
workers.
domestic cultural training,
Yep, and training and allyship.
allyship, and presentations probably, because we'd probably need to present to.
Could that be connected somehow to DHS trainings? You know how they have those?
It needs to be.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so,
Yep.
I mean, that would
And
be
we could make that happen.
an easier
Easily.
way to contact a lot of people at one time.
Yep, and I'd be
Rania is our
willing
connection with
to create either a DVD or CD-ROM. No, I'm serious.
No,
So-
I know you are.
So we can multiply this as many times as
Mhm.
possible. So we can do a
Yeah,
DVD.
Vanya.
Yeah, so however, we're able to do that we replicate this stuff as much as possible.
So we
as
need to
well
get
as
that training ready.
Yeah, so
Because they'll be like,
however-
okay, well, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
We should,
And-
yes, we should have a timeline soon.
Well, and then
Okay.
maybe the DVD comes first. So when you go to DHS, they can put in the DVD and say, oh yeah, this is great.
Like the MFIT orientation video, like that?
Well,
we could
whatever,
all be
but
like
you know what I mean? That would be an
Right.
easy way to get their attention and say, yeah, we're on
So it'd
board.
be a commercial, DVD commercial, okay?
We could be the fake classmates.
That'd be funny.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Again, one
Okay.
thing just to keep in mind is that the allyship project is 7 people.
Okay.
And I would not be comfortable with taking the work that we've done, and doing that on my own without bringing the other people along for the ride.
Okay.
So just FYI, I mean, that's
Okay.
something we're gonna have to continue figuring out as we look for ways to spread our work,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that
And-
everybody benefits fairly from that.
And talk about that a little bit more.
Sure. So this is currently being supported by Minnesota Without Poverty, although we are an independent group and certainly hope to take our work elsewhere. But what we are looking at is everybody in this group, aside from myself, is low income or has been low income, living in poverty for most of their life. They're all community activists of one sort or another. Most are artists who do a lot of consciousness raising kind of around issues of poverty and things like that. And what we're looking at as a group is how people can be better allies to one another across class while working on this common project of trying to end poverty. So our audience is groups that have that as their mission in one way or the other. So right now, like I said, we're being sponsored by Minnesota Without Poverty just to get ourselves off the ground and create kind of a training model. And what we're hoping to present to Minnesota Without Poverty and the leadership is, here's how you as an organization can work more effectively with a broader and more economically diverse group of constituents to get involved in the work that you're doing to try to end poverty. Reason being, Minnesota Without Poverty came out of the Lutheran Church. It has broadened itself considerably, but its base and most of the people that are involved are still Minnesota Lutherans, which means that we are very white, we are very middle-aged, we are very upper middle class. So we are not an organization that really incorporates the people that are most affected by the issue that we're fighting against. So that's what we as a group are trying to teach them how to do, is here's how to work effectively with poor folks, here's how to incorporate them into your work in a respectful way, here's how to recognize some cultural differences if you buy into the concept of a class culture.
I will hire you guys to come do a training at the county, at Anoka County.
All right, we should talk about that.
Yep. I personally see parallels with race.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And so, how easy do you think it would be for your folks to jump the track into talking about being an ally around race? Or racism, rather?
Could we do both? Could we talk about race and class?
No,
Yeah.
that is never mutually excused.
Because that, I think, would be quite easy. Let's see, 7 of us, 2 of us are white. We have.
Would all
Julie
7 of
Evans.
you come to the training?
That's how we've done it so far. So far, the only training that we've actually facilitated was at the Minnesota Coalition for the Homeless Conference. That was kind of our trial run. That was less than an hour, and we have decided that that is not enough time.
Because I would figure, I'd do 2 hours.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
okay, so we can talk about the particulars later, but I just, when I heard that, I was like, that sounds like me, and I want it not to be me, so. That's good.
So potentially partnering though. Well, I mean, you guys are gonna do that separately.
Yeah, we'll do that something.
potentially-
I will hire them in January.
Cause I understand what you're saying with that.
Right,
Part.
right. Yeah, so, doing something with the county would be great, but,
Mhm.
if we're gonna kind of look into DHS opportunities and stuff like that. And that's something we have to figure out as a group, because right now, our sole
Mhm.
existence is to prepare a presentation for Minnesota Without Poverty Leadership. We only started in August.
Mhm.
We're a pretty new group.
Mhm.
So kind of figuring out, and we have other opportunities too. We're talking to some other organizations that are interested in getting us on board. So figuring out how we're gonna share that work, whether we all need to be there every single time, what we're gonna ask for in terms of contracts and stuff with people. But all of them are either unemployed or very underemployed. A lot of them support themselves on gigs. You know, they do artistic, community organizing gigs with different organizations and schools and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is amazing, but it's a really hard way to make a living.
Mhm.
So,
Um,
just a quick question, because I see you have the strategic plan in front of you.
Mhm.
Are any of the things that we're talking about part of what we've already identified in the strategic plan?
The new ideas with the chamber came today, so those aren't in there.
The training, domestic training has, but it wasn't as concrete as doing 7 of them regionally.
Right.
So, because I think that document
template.
was really a fabulous document, and if we could just operate from that.
Okay. And just get more
And
clear.
just get
Yeah.
more clear, more
Okay.
specific.
What the actual
Sure.
specific objective is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of these are huge. A lot
Right.
of these we
Right.
put on
So
here
we
with
need to
no
smaller.
idea how we
Right.
could accomplish them.
So if we have a specific way to accomplish those objectives and a
Okay.
timeline,
Okay.
that would be
Put
the
that
next
down as
step.
a
then.
bigger.
Excuse me.
And then, using strategic plan.
Hello.
And then I think, with the, we can jump back and forth to each one and stuff, I just wanted to get something down for each. So then with the political one, that's where, OAP said they wanted to partner,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, they'd be good.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you say you were talking to OAP?
And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
JCA too, Jewish Community Action, is very political, and so I think that's one area we can partner with them too.
So is Minnesota Without Poverty.
Okay. So,
And.
poverty, how that partnering would look, what would happen, I have no idea.
Right, yeah. Trying to think, what are legislative action items? OAP is gonna definitely be stronger on the racial equity side of things in terms of legislative issues.
Yeah, oh, big time.
Yeah, that's their thing.
That's their thing. That's their mission.
Minnesota Without Poverty is looking at poverty more broadly, which would certainly disproportionately help Native Americans and African Americans because they are disproportionately hurt by the existence of poverty. Our legislative agenda is, for the coming year, is number 1, just trying to hold off some really drastic cuts to human services. As much as possible. There is the Ladders Out of Poverty
Yeah.
Commission which is looking at asset building opportunities.
Okay.
So there may be some opportunities to get involved with advocating for that and looking for some race conscious
Okay.
work to be done as part of that. What else? And then just continuing to push the mission to end poverty goals. I don't remember if there was anything in there about race.
Do you think we should do like a 6-month plan? I don't even want to say 6 months, I'll say 3 months, and say, in each of these areas, these are the people that we'll connect with. And then in 3 months, we will have a work plan. So like in each of the areas, we'll connect with the employers, you know, whoever, and then
I think that we should have a goal, so like, say it's,
of the each area first.
yeah, like, say it's the chamber thing, so connect with whoever runs the newsletter or whatever by this date, and then the next meeting, Annika will tell us if she was able to connect with the right person, what the feedback was from the
Mhm.
chamber,
Mm-hmm.
what our next step is, if it's an option, or if she thinks it's worth our while, or if we should move on to another goal, or work
Okay.
on another, you know, whatever.
So the employer, so is that okay though? I mean, is 3 months too, cause I want to have that work plan. I think that that's really important that we have that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we're ready to do that at our next meeting? To develop a work plan, or should we gather more information?
I don't think we need to gather more information. I think we just need to set up, like, those, you know,
Okay.
SMART goals.
Well, I think it would even be helpful to look at our 4 sheets again and just kind of look at it and say, you know, of these things that we've already established are issues. you
Which
know,
are right here.
Yeah. How can we, you know, what are our, you know, goals out of those things?
I don't think so, because I thought this was a brand new.
Now that we have goals with our action plan for each of those.
Okay, so why don't we do that, starting with employers, and then, you know, I guess we could put it in,
Yeah. So, for example, so help me understand this. So if we go straight down here, so goal number 1 is develop racial equality in hiring and employment practices. So if we said we will do 7 chamber meetings,
Mm-hmm.
that would accomplish that,
Right.
right? And then we can select from this almost menu of things, the kinds of things we would talk about in each of those chambers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Okay.
we'd say, you know, 7 chambers in the 7 county metro area, kind of thing.
So this is more of a long-term goal then, because we'd have to
Well,
also.
we'd be working toward that.
Okay.
Or I mean, I don't know the difference between long-term and short-term in terms of what we're talking about.
Okay.
I almost think it would be a short-term goal then, really. I mean, it's gonna take some time, but
To
it would
develop
be a
what you're
short-
gonna
Yeah, but it would be
say.
a shorterm goal,
Mhm.
because our long-term goal is to develop the
Is
racial
to develop the
Yeah,
racial
yeah.
and hiring practices.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah, one of our short-term goals
Is
for that.
to.
Would be to start meeting with chamber.
Okay. And then do we have a
Well,
deadline?
That's actually point B, educate employers on racial disparities.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Promote, and some ideas that we had for how to accomplish that
yeah.
were to promote the Close the Gap Work via Itasca project, develop more employer support / feedback forms for use while implementing Close the Gap action plans. So I think,
The chamber.
yeah, I think
Mhm.
the chamber would be another idea for how we could accomplish educating employers on
Mhm.
racial disparities.
Okay.
And your point to providing, resources to them while we do
Mhm.
that.
Can we add that as
Mhm.
a number 3, third I?
Yep. And actually, you have the old one.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we'll definitely, I mean, that's why we kind of wanted to get it out there, is to get feedback and to add more.
Yeah.
So third point that would be to provide resources.
Yep. To employers.
So that's the purpose, is to educate them and and provide resources. Okay. And then do we wanna have a deadline? Like, how do we wanna go about that, or is this something we should talk about at our next meeting?
Well, Who wants to present?
I'm comfortable presenting anywhere, but as a matter of how and I want to make sure that
And
we're all
then-
on a consensus about what we're presenting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what we
I don't
have
mind
to figure
presenting
out.
anywhere.
But then who would we talked about, sorry.
No, go, because you haven't spoken a lot.
We talked, you talked a little bit about bringing in an attorney
Mhm.
as a tool. How would we get someone to do that pro bono or like?
Cedric.
We'd have
Oh.
to get it done pro bono.
Yeah, but I mean, who would be our person? Do we have it?
Cedric.
So-
Okay.
I mean, I think that's something we could talk about at this meeting.
Okay.
I don't even think it's even necessary to establish, 5 goals for each. I think it's important to establish one goal, at least as a starting point under
Yeah.
each of them.
Sure.
And then talk about at that
How
next
we're gonna do
meeting,
it.
how we're gonna, meet that one goal.
Okay.
And then, 2 meetings later, kind of talk about where we're at with that goal, if we're going to pursue it, like you said, and then if we're not going to pursue it any further.
Well,
making-
I move really fast, so I want to have a couple too, because I'll meet with all 7 of them by next week.
Agreed.
Go to their
Well,
house.
yeah. No, and I totally agree with that. I think, having a couple instead of,
Yeah.
establishing for the next 3 meetings,
Sure.
all of the goals.
Yeah.
Maybe would be a better use of time.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but this is one for the.
So I think, yeah, the chamber events and then also the chamber newsletter, that would be easy to figure out. I mean, if you already have that connection, then just contacting them and see where we're at with that would be an
Okay.
easy one to at least get started on.
Okay.
Yep. And then we can also submit the same article to all the chamber,
Sure.
all the chambers that we'll be in
Mhm.
contact with.
Sure. So this is that's the employer goals? Is the 7 chamber meetings and the chamber newsletter. And then obviously the employer panel. The one that we're gonna do initially with Cam
yeah.
and Cam and Nan. The
Mhm.
employer panel.
What I keep hiccuping about is sort of what do we want to set up in terms of workload? Are there people who want to focus on one particular area among the 4? I mean, we don't have enough folks around the table today to
Mhm.
break ourselves into subcommittees or anything like that. Do people want to not get that formalized and have the option to be involved in everything?
No, I think
Um,
we should be specific in what goal we're working on.
Yeah, I think that would make sense too.
So I think what we should do is lay out what we'll be working on, and then
Mhm.
people can sign, kind of what we do, sign up for the
What they
goal
did
that
at
they wanna.
EET.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, they
Okay.
did this? Oh,
Well,
okay,
yeah.
yeah. So just sign up for the one that you wanted to be responsible for working on, and then
Yeah.
reporting on your progress.
Okay, so can we say that folks can report on their progress by next meeting? Even if they haven't
Yeah.
had the meetings yet, okay. So we'll report on our progress with this stuff after, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I also think then it would be nice for next meeting to discuss whether we could have all of our sweats finished and discuss them so we know each other's strengths.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea.
What I also, I'm trying to do right now is create a website. And on that website, maybe I'll put
Fat Cow?
no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm done with Fat Cow.
Ooh.
Done. And maybe I'll put a SWOT analysis on there.
Mm.
And so folks can just go through the SWOT analysis online and just pop the stuff in there. And then we'll have it in a database that we can use.
Wow.
You're even talking to people who are going to be working with us, employers, etc.
Well, I was just talking about us, but
It would be super
that
great for
Mhm.
people that we're working with. If if they're willing to
Eventually.
devote that time, yeah, or they, like, you know, we've established that, yeah, that information from this particular person, an elder or whatever
Sure.
would be, or our, what do we call them, community contributors?
Oh, yeah.
Community
Yeah,
experts.
Or community experts, that we would have them do one as well, so that
Right.
would
So we could have that data.
That is awesome.
Yep.
wouldn't that be great?
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah, okay, I have to
Cool.
remember that. But I'm
Well,
not
I can
sure.
write it down somewhere.
Yeah,
What
you
do
can write it
Right.
down.
Where would we put that? Would that be, okay, we'll put that on the website.
So I'll put that on the website,
So website will have SWOT
a
analysis.
SWOT analysis, and
For
it'll be,
partners.
you know, are you a community expert? Are you an employer? Are you a legislator? Are you
And then we could have like a scanner, so it just scans our eyeball.
Well,
Right?
yes,
Right? Okay,
yes.
cool.
I'm saving that for the
Right.
airport, actually.
Okay, stick your hand in there. Okay. So we got employers, we got some stuff down for employer goals.
Which will be really nice because even within that, once we know each other's strengths, we can say, you know, like who would be, you know, like the website's going to collect that information, but who's going to be the one to read it and kind of analyze it and, you know, report back to the table about the new people who signed up and wanted to be, you know, a contributor or whatever.
Mhm.
And who is going to record notes and keep track of time in
Yeah.
terms of timetable. I mean, I think we just, it comes down to the fact that we are action people, and so we should be as organized as possible with our time while we're here, because we have a lot more to say than our 3 hours are going to let us. Yeah.
Are we comfortable with employer goals?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Those
sure.
ones? Okay, so, yep. Individual? Should we do individual next? Individual goals?
So what did we just
You want me to-
basically,
What do we do?
what did we put down earlier as sort of
The bigger stuff?
broader?
Mm-hmm. So we put down well, I just wrote down everything I was hearing. Itasca, employer panel presentation, to connect with employers, coming
Was that
with.
the employer one?
Yes.
Okay, I meant for individuals.
Oh, okay.
What about the expand culturally appropriate services to non-white domestic culture?
That's a big one. That says immediate goal, but I think that was more
Mhm.
so what we were thinking about. We as individuals, we just put that on there to, you know what I mean?
That would be the DHS, how about the DHS training? Well, that's not
Expand
individual,
no, 'cause that's not for.
social services.
Yep. So individuals, we put, I don't know why I wrote that, breakfast bites, elders table, Northwood Community Trust, how to respect communities, incentive for folks involved, promise fellow, client to be a part of Metro Talking Circle, community experts, presentation, I put down presentations in colleges and schools. So, that's what we talked.
Wait a minute, this is for what?
Individuals.
Okay.
Goals.
So these are goals for,
These
The
aren't
client.
goals, this is brainstorm stuff.
oh, okay.
Yep, these are brainstorm stuff on the individual, so to try to find goals birthed out of that is, one I could say Justin Huneman. No, that would be different, okay.
So is which strategic bullet is this under? The
We
Individual?
didn't do individual.
Okay.
I was just
That was-
gonna say it'd be really helpful for these goals if, when we do our action plan, that we can like take our 4 points and like
Mhm.
put them under each of them so
Yeah.
that we care about that for
Yep.
each other.
I can already see where one of your strengths are. You're very detail oriented, that's cool. Yep, I am not, so I thank you for that. I need that.
Yeah,
Do you think it's appropriate to develop some sort of a general survey? Or no?
what would we be looking for?
Just anything, I mean, at this point, what, well, I don't know, that could be the part where it gets fuzzy. What
Looking-
about individual presentations to, groups like Breakfast Bites or Northway Community Trust or regarding the disparities? You're talking about how they could potentially be involved, that would be the solution is if you guys wanna, come to our meetings or whatever, I don't know.
Well, I think with community members, it goes back to sort of the attitude that Andre was talking about earlier, where how can we help you? What are you guys already doing to work on this issue? Identifying community partners that are working on this issue.
Okay.
And what do you need? And how can we be a connector, if it's possible for us to be a connector?
Okay, hold on,
So
because
the
that's perfect.
focus
That's the
group
goals
that
right
he
there.
was talking about, that already create focus groups, the North.
Okay.
Yeah, North
So
Side.
connect with Northway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so identify community groups that are already doing something
Yeah.
Okay.
to address disparities.
Groups doing something to address disparities.
And ask how we can help.
And then ask how we can help. And they'll say, well, who are you? What do
bring
you
it
have?
back to this table and say, this is what they said. Do we think that it's helpful? Do we think that it's fitting in with our mission?
And
We don't
within our
really know that.
capacity.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
But yeah, to say that we represent some social service agencies, we have some connections within the government system, and we're trying to make ourselves as effective as possible. So what resources could we offer that would help you do your work better, or that would meet community needs that you're aware of that aren't currently being met in any other way?
Yeah, but I need childcare, I need a bus card, I'm just kidding.
The other thing is, if we have legislative agenda items, it would be great if we could share them across the board, because our lobbyist sits a door down from me. I mean, in my office, so she's the next door over, and it's nothing for me to lop over something to her, or even to pass what other folks are thinking on to our MFIT folks, so they can pass it on to our lobbyists.
Okay.
And that kind of stuff. So,
So this is a political goal?
yeah.
Political.
So we can share whatever our agendas are.
Yeah, and I'm on the legislative advocacy committee for EAC.
Okay.
Do you know Deborah Schiff?
I don't.
I know her.
Yeah.
Yep.
Affirmative action.
I've testified for her several times.
I like that.
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah, she was actually supposed to be on the racial equity call, but that's a big thing. I think OAP connecting with OAP, because they're already doing a lot of the political stuff with racial equity, and then I don't want her to fall under that. Well, I mean, we would fall under that umbrella, but we would be regarding African American, Native American, because I think the diversity and equity, racial equity, that is really big, and that's where the problems start. Because they're like, oh, well, Hispanics, Latinos, disabled, GLBT community. I mean, everybody falls under that, and the communities are very different, and the situations and all this stuff.
So if you're interested, I just set up a website. It is just a template. It is metrotalkingcircle.weebly, WEEBLY.com.
Weebly?
Yeah.
Wow.
Metro Talking
Circle dot Weebly, WEEBLY.com. And it just says Metro Talking Circle, nothing else. But if I can get some of these documents, I can start plugging that stuff into the website, and ultimately we'll change the name to a .org.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think we decided we'll discuss this next time, but would one of your strengths possibly be doing something like that, like keeping up with the website?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've also, and I shared this with Christine, I purchased racialdisparities.org as a domain name. So I have a number. Once I saw that the University of Minnesota didn't continue it, I bought it. So there's a bunch of them like that I that I bought.
You didn't do non-white domestically culturally competency?
No, .org.
You know what, we do need to think of another name for that. Seriously.
We'll start.
NWC. I mean,
How about
something.
NWA?
Right, I was saying that. But, yeah, because that's a lot. That's just a mouthful.
So,
Okay, so political goal is sharing agendas with lobbyists, and then connecting with OAP, and then connecting with Jewish Community Action. Adele wanted to be here, she wasn't able to be here today, but her and I are meeting this week too, so I'll give her all this information. And they're very political, yep, they're very politically, they hosted the gubernational debate at their congregation and stuff, so. And she actually did that entire whole thing. She coordinated all that. And this can be part of their mission, because JCA has a choice of picking 3 things to be a part of, and they're still looking for a 3rd.
Okay. Andre, you mentioned earlier best practices.
Yes.
And that's under our public policy goal.
okay.
Is review the efficacy of MFIP TANF programs and recommend any necessary reforms based on international best practices. Bing,
Right.
bing.
Sweet.
How knowledgeable are we about policy alternatives, and if we're looking at MFIP in particular, or just sort of disparities more broadly?
I don't.
I think that's why we need to connect with
Should we have
OAP.
Paris do something?
Maybe.
Hmm?
What about folks like Move On Minnesota?
I wonder if they're part of that
Yeah.
mutual meeting and everything.
I don't know.
So are we proposing that we have somebody come in and talk to us more about it? As a
That'd be
circle?
OAP, and he wants to do that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be
Yes.
MFIP specific. But he
Yeah,
said he wanted
either
an hour.
talk to us, or that would be
Someone-
something that I would be interested in.
Because he's talking about the report cards.
Right.
And that could potentially be something that, that template is used in MFIP, the report cards.
Right. For policymakers, for
Mhm.
MFIP priorities. But first we'd have to set what our priorities are before we grade
Right.
legislators on how well they're achieving them.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be something that I would be interested in looking into. It's not something that's gonna happen before the next meeting, but, to start doing some research about ideas for effective programming.
Right.
And policy.
Yeah.
Well, one of those policies was the use state funds to support clients in educational activities who are not within the 30% education cap.
Right, Vanya's
Yeah,
idea.
she
Yeah.
didn't tell us how to do that though.
It's not gonna happen this session. Nothing with money on it is gonna happen this session, and that's expensive.
Really?
Yeah, that would definitely be expensive, because that would mean removing clients out of TANF, so removing them out of federal payments and paying
Oh,
for them
right.
out of state
Okay.
budget.
Yeah. Which
And
is
there
already
is no
gonna be
state
cut.
budget.
Yeah, we're already 6 million in the
Yeah,
hole.
billion.
Billion.
6 billion, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. How could I?
Millions, billions.
Okay.
Zeros, whatever.
For effective,
What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just to say that, in terms of talking about best practices, that I just think it would be also in I know I just keep putting on in these organizational things, but how neat it would be if, we did identify what our strengths were next time, and maybe like a certain piece that, we're going to be able to do then under our goals, whether that be that you're going to search out some of the best practices and, who could come and talk with us or who could sit on the circle with us, whatever that might be. But that we could kind of give our own report about it, and that, in each meeting we would slot some sort of 10-minute time for a new person in or a person in our circle to kind of give their spiel about, how they could help or what they think they could do in order, why we're invested in this. I think it's important to hear kind of a little speech from everyone about why we're actually invested in this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
For instance, because this is something that's just been on my mind since I started talking here, being a part of this, which was,
it's cool, starting time. That's what I started talking.
is that for me, I think of this larger picture of healthy people, healthy communities, and I'm wondering how that can fit into this. How, adapting certain things out there or supporting things that are already out there, how I can help do that in terms of healthy people in communities, therefore, helping the unequal distribution of health, and helping, our economy. So I definitely see that's my strength is the larger picture of that. And I also, because I've had this idea for a while of how I can individually support things that are out there and or, engage more people in it, that I'd like to be able to bring to the table how we can do that as well. So that's why I'm personally invested in this right now, is that I can see that this might be an agent for doing more of that.
That's what we want it to be. We want it to be, something that is beneficial, not just to the people and the communities, but to you individually, to help you further and stuff with that.
And so, that's just my example of how, we could kind of give a, presentation, but for you to hear that from me right now you don't know yet what my, what I know about it, or what, I can bring to the table, or, who I've already networked with, etc. So having like a 10-minute presentation, a little bit up to the talking circle about what I can do, what you can do, what you can do.
Sure.
Would be super great. I don't know, for me anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else? Okay.
Yep. So, well, we can add that to the agenda for next meeting and talk about, because I think with your SWOT analysis, if you wanted to, maybe if everybody wanted to present their own and whatever aspect of it they wanted to elaborate on, they could do that. If not, cool, if it's just reading it. But if you felt the need to elaborate on one specific area, absolutely. So we can just do that in our SWOT analysis presentation at our next meeting. Cool.
With a call to action. With a call to action. Because I think, we can tell each other this stuff, but then we can say, like, this is what I would want out of the Metro Talking Circle then. Do you think that it's worth it?
Okay.
Can we take a step forward with this particular idea?
Mm-hmm.
So it's, the way I'm investing.
Sure.
Yeah, I was thinking similarly, call to action or like sort of this is my mission, this is what I'm working on.
Yep.
This is what I would like to be focused on in this group.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So, political goals, and then I'll read over these, and then we can pick who is wanting to go in which direction with that right now, and then we can talk about setting up the agenda for the next meeting. And if we wanted to invite anybody to that, so we have employer, individual, political, and then direct service or programs. I feel like the Jeremiah program is an asset somehow to me. It's like there's some way that I can.
Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yes, the Jeremiah program is a organization that was started by Father Michael, who's the priest of the Basilica. It is a apartment complex that's subsidized for single mothers with children, as long as they are attending some sort of post-secondary education.
Okay.
99, I just volunteered there last week. They're all a part of MFIT. So,
It's not a requirement for them, though, it's just they
for
just
them to be
don't
part of
have it.
MFIT? No, it's a requirement for them to go to school, and a lot of them need childcare, and so the only way they can get childcare, especially, is through MFIT, because you can't get it, basic sliding fee still, like you have to be on MFIT to get any childcare assistance, which means that you have to comply with the work participation. So, anyways, program, I think you said the 7 chamber meetings, but I think also maybe devoting 7, well, I mean, because what if we went through DHS to do that, because DHS,
Yeah, the DHS training would be part of the direct service, I think.
okay.
We have to develop it first.
Right.
Right, so there's that. You think we should make the training for, okay, all right. Not like we did last time and said we had a strategic plan and then come up with it?
Right.
Okay, okay.
Sometimes it doesn't matter what order that stuff comes in.
Right.
Otherwise
If you build
we're-
it, they will come.
Otherwise, we're selling real estate in Florida.
Right, exactly. So we can actually back it up. Okay, so direct service program, so developing the training.
Yeah, developing the training for social service programs.
That's a big one right there.
That
That's a
is a
big time
big one.
commitment.
Yes.
Okay, so developing the training, and then, that is a big one. And the training, I mean, cause then that would be like, okay, do we want to introduce to them this disparity and from what aspects, and then also, then what? So, yeah, so that in itself to me is a goal by itself. I don't think
Mhm.
there's much more that we can do with that at that point until we develop that training.
Right. I agree.
Okay. Yeah?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is gonna take some time, so it needs to be
Mhm.
done thoroughly and thoughtfully. Definitely.
So then the next things I'm thinking is adding a timeline to these and then figuring out who's gonna do them. Okay. So with the employer goals, we have the 7 chamber meetings to educate and provide resources. And then the chamber newsletter. And then developing that employer panel. And I think that could be something that we could discuss with Cam again, maybe? Or no?
I'm still confused about how that is different from the,
Recognition?
right.
Recognition is schmoozing them, forming a relationship to form a relationship. You know, to say, okay, well, you know, now they start to know us. They know EAC, they know American Indian OIC, and we are committed to providing you with, you know, good employees. And we want your feedback, ongoing feedback. We want to have a relationship with you. We want you to call us when you have a position open type thing. Versus, there is an issue in the community with racial disparities, and we need to figure out as a group, because we know that you have quotas you need to reach as far as affirmative action. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
People might not necessarily want to eat dinner while they talk about that. You know, that's more of a hard.
Right, okay.
I also want to hear feedback from the meeting that you guys go to this week about
Stakeholders?
Yeah, about how we can get some, either the mayor, which you don't necessarily think would be a good idea, but someone that has power to make these business connections, especially if it can be someone like 3M or business like Target or something like that. So we have major players.
Oh, we could do that.
Yeah, so if we can get some feedback from Cam, and see what kind of partnerships he can bring in that sense, then that would be good. So I don't know where that fits in, if it would be,
I think that's an employer thing. Yeah, it seems to me like get a sense of what partnerships he has, but more importantly, get a sense of what his agenda is
Mm-hmm.
in engaging stakeholders and
Yeah.
whether or not it aligns with ours.
Right.
Because it may or it may not.
I think it will. I think it will. But yes. But how much of this
But then-
follow through is going to be? How
right, and see, I think we should ask maybe that specific question,
What's that?
just, you know, if we have this idea that if, you know, we'd like to start approaching businesses and talking to them about how we can fill their employment
Mhm.
openings.
I just hope he doesn't try to shut us down.
I don't know.
Because if we propose something to him and then he says, no, we don't want you to do that, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean, for whatever reason, then we can't. Either,
Well,
I
you
don't
could
know.
you could say like, oh, I was thinking about this idea, like you know, like it was just like brainstorm idea, but to see how responsive you would be to it. Because what was the example that they used to work with Target for like 5 years or 10 years?
Who?
Or Honeywell? Was it Honeywell?
You talking about Harvey?
Yeah.
The example he gave?
Yeah,
Target.
Target and Honeywell, where they
Yeah,
had,
Target had a commitment to.
Yeah, so if we can have some, you know, if we can make them commit, if we can get them to make a commitment similar to that, that would be huge.
See, we might need to go find out who it was that initially talked to Target and find out what approach did they make. Because that's what I want to know. I want to know, what did they sell them on? What did they
Yeah.
talk to that leader about? Because we could go there, but if we don't have the right, you know,
Yeah,
buy-in, if we don't
but I
have the
just
right.
want to see if that's even in the same, I mean, if that's what he's working toward, or if he thinks that's a good
Cam?
idea, yeah.
Talking to business or to
Yeah,
the
what his
CEOs and
goal
stuff.
is on the employer
Okay.
front.
So get a sense of what Cam's agenda is
Mhm.
regarding employers.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Or if there is one.
Right. Okay, so then we have the 7 chamber meetings, educate and provide resources. Are we prepared to do that? Are we prepared to educate them? What would we be educating them on, and what resources will we be providing
Which one?
for the employer vote, the 7 chamber meetings?
Oh, no, we wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, we
Or
said.
are you ready?
We said that we were, if I'm not mistaken, we just said that we would educate them, we'd ask them, the focus would be the affirmative action
Mhm.
plan, is that
Okay.
correct?
Right.
That's,
Mhm.
so all of that conversation would fall under that, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. And I know next to nothing about that. I know that you do.
Yeah. Would we present the Algernon Osler report or not? Well, obviously we can't present his report, but or should we just?
Well, I think that could be incorporated somehow.
Okay.
But that's part of your planning process on how you're
Right.
gonna present the
Right.
information.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so who wants to do that? I'm willing to call,
I'm-
or
I'm-
knock.
Yeah.
Go to
You're talking
folks'
about-
house.
Talking about chamber stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, it's easy, you just call up the chamber and say, when can we get on your calendar?
Really?
It's that simple, yeah.
Okay.
So probably the first step would be organizing what you're gonna say to this here
Yeah.
Right.
tomorrow.
But the thing is the affirmative action part. Would you be willing to lead that? I would
Yeah.
come, and I have no idea about that either.
Yeah,
affirmative
but
action.
I gotta tell you, all the stuff that we really need to know is on the state's website. I don't know any more than what I've read on the state's website. But the point of having the conversation is to get them to think about it.
Mhm.
Because they haven't, I'm sure they haven't thought about it, and nobody's ever talked to them about it.
Well, and I think it's important to say why this is still important.
Right.
So
Why
I
it's
think
still
that's-
relevant.
I think that's where you can bring in that, report.
Report. Okay. Right.
Yeah, so that's where you can add in that piece.
Okay.
Or if we are still post-racial, why do we still have these
Yeah,
things?
yeah, yeah.
So what does this mean?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, and to kind of have a dialogue
Okay. So we'll work on that part.
and see if Cedric
Cedric.
can
Okay.
also be a
Okay.
part of that.
And then, the chamber newsletter.
I'd be willing to like,
I
if you
love
wanna
it.
contact the person, I would be willing to like compile the story or whatever, be the contact person for this, whoever submits the story and then
Okay.
whatever, but if you wanna contact that
Do you feel
guy and
comfortable
see-
contacting them at this point?
Well, the guy I know is the public policy guy. He's not the newsletter guy.
Okay.
Minneapolis Chamber is big.
Mhm.
They're tough. They're a tough nut to crack.
Mhm.
Maybe he could point you in the right direction
Possibly. Yeah, we could try. There's other stuff on the list that I'm more interested in.
Okay.
So
So we'll
I'll
keep
just say
that there. That'll just be there. Okay. And ready to go.
And I mean, part of Harvey's idea was doing that collaboratively with other agencies.
Right.
So it's not,
Just
it's not
EAC and
Okay.
it's not
yeah.
just an EAC
Yeah.
thing.
Okay. That's right.
So.
Yes.
There may
And
need
it
to,
wouldn't-
there may need to be some more groundwork. I mean, we could do that. And I was actually thinking of trying to put together a press release type thing.
Mm-hmm.
With supported work and saying, hey, here's our employer of the year, and trying to get some media recognition. But again, that would be a just us thing.
Right. And this would be more of a long term, because we'd have to connect with those other agencies.
It could be.
Well,
yeah.
that wouldn't be
I
that
mean-
hard. You send an email out to all the vendors.
Mm-hmm. To get that, yeah. Okay.
Especially, I mean, we're, yeah, no.
Okay.
But
So
I
yes, it
mean,
might be that.
but I mean, we as supported work, we, connect with all the vendors.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
we've got an email list.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. And just like how Jeff Harden sent out with the, wanting the employer
Success
recognition,
stories.
success
Yeah.
stories, yeah. Yep. Yes, okay. And then, the employer panel, that's more of a long-term thing. What was the other thing you said you wanted to be a part of that was on the list?
Not the employer list. but-
Not on the employer list, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so far, just on the employer list.
I agree with Kristen's point earlier that I think a recognition event
Mhm.
coupled with feedback could be a part of Talking Circle Schools.
Yes.
It's different than the panel.
Yes.
But that's something that we're working on.
Absolutely, yeah.
A recognition event for,
Well, the idea with that, our agencies were talking.
That was where you were talking about giving them an award.
Yep, about trying to host some sort of event for, it could be in contexts that we already have, just through our work, so our supported work employers, stuff like that. And hopefully also inviting some new employers, either from a local base, like have it neighborhood focused, since we're both in the Seward area. Or somehow trying to get other employers there. And have it be a recognition of, thank you for partnering with us. Maybe give some kind of an award to a particular employer that really went out of their way.
$500 gift certificate to
Nice.
Yeah.
And then one idea was combining that with asking for some feedback about how can we provide better services to you as employers. How are we doing, what issues do you experience with our clientele, and how could we better address those so that it's a more successful experience?
Mm-hmm.
you'll be talking at one of those in a couple weeks, right?
Oh, the one that I'm coming to,
Mhm.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, but it'll be different. Wait, yours are employers?
Yeah.
That's right, no, I know that, I did know that, I did. I'm trying to, think about the connection with what you're saying, and I didn't even put those pieces of puzzle together. Okay.
So True Justice is hosting something?
Yeah.
And is it an employer recognition event?
Yeah. I'm just wondering if it would be helpful then for like you to come to the event and
Yeah, just
see
to
how
see.
we did it, and then we can talk about it here at the circle again
Yeah.
and say like what we would have liked to have seen out of it for the next time, or for the next time, the time that you do it, or whatever. So maybe.
Because then it could be a
So
supported work
you do a
camp.
feedback session?
Well, that's actually an interesting part though, because I don't think that we're planning on. So it's mostly recognition.
Yeah, that's what we have
Well-
an employer recognition, but like hardly anyone comes to it. So like, why would you come just to have food on
Yeah.
the day that you have to work?
Is yours
We
just
have,
supported work?
It's just supported work.
Okay.
Yeah, and on the invitation, we basically said that we'd like them to also come to hear more about MFID. So she's going to do an MFID 101 a little bit, so that the employers know about it a little bit more and have some question and answer. We have a couple success stories,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. But the feedback part is the important
Yeah.
piece for us. So
Right,
it's something that, although it's coming up really soon, I wonder if
What
we
did you
just throw it at Jessica
Yeah.
and see. I mean, it wouldn't, we wouldn't tell them this time around, unfortunately, but we could still try to step it in there just to see how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll talk to Jessica about it and just see if we can do something. Would you be interested in coming to the event? And
Yeah.
Sure.
The shizzle?
Definitely, if you can
We'll
sit
ride
there.
together. I'll pick you guys up. Okay, cool, yeah, that's on the 17th, Friday the 17th, from 2:30 to 3:30. I did have it written down. I knew I was coming, I did, I just didn't put two and two together that this is something,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's why I said it, because I was like, I don't know if this is the same idea.
Yeah, no, I'm really
Or
glad you did.
Yes.
Have you done, is this like an annual event for you guys?
Is this the first time you've ever done it?
No.
Because
What
Roshanta,
is
who
it,
goes to our
1:30 to
church,
2:30?
Roshanta goes to church. She came from Pinterest.
What is it? Is
Yeah.
it 2 to 3:30?
Okay.
Kristen,
Yes.
Would you mind
No.
looking at that
Yes.
again?
It's 2 to 3:30 on Friday the 17th. 2:30 to 3:30.
That name
I
sounds
wrote down
familiar.
2:30.
Okay.
Yeah, Roshanta Williams.
I looked her up on Facebook.
Yeah, she's on there. But she actually works for, I lost my connection with her because she was through Tree Trust, and she used to send me everything, and she was gonna be a part of the Talking Store Court, and she's like, oh my gosh, I got a job opportunity somewhere. African American Family Services, who also, I'm just to put this out there, is, we have media potential. We have potential to be, you know, KMOJ is a huge, I can get connected with them, I could get us airtime if we ever needed to do anything like that, just to put that out there. Because Lisa Jones is a host, and she and I have talked about it, and so she's like, whatever I can do, she's like, I can't come to your meetings because I have too many commitments right now, but if there's any other way I can help. So, that's that. That was something.
And we can do our own radio stuff too. I mean, Blog Talk Radio is a way that we can interview folks or have folks call in and do our own pointed media stuff. So there's plenty of ways that we could do our own buzz.
And I'm on the radio at Oliver too.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
Late
Cog-
night?
Cog Radio, late night.
Quiet Store.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hot Thunder
Mixtape.
Isn't that how they do it at night though?
Yeah.
Quiet fire storm
Right.
of love.
Exactly. Yeah, not quite.
Not quite.
And then we lost our connection with Vera. She just fell off the map, so I don't know where she fell.
Well, we should look her back up though.
I try. I always include her. I've called her. I've texted her. I had somebody that I could have got to. She's the director of the Minneapolis Television Network. Yep. So she would have been cool if we would have had like a little. We could have actually had a show on there and been talking. I know you have acting experience.
Yeah.
So seen some of your work already.
I think that media stuff is like way down the way because it's easy to get on TV. It's easy to get in the paper.
No,
it's
and
easy.
you know this, so yes, you're right.
Yeah, all that stuff is easy to do.
Right.
But if we don't have anything to say, and if we're not doing anything, we'll be looking like and acting like just like everybody else who's not doing
TV.
anything.
Yeah. Gotcha.
You know.
Okay. So with the individuals, we have identifying community groups doing something to address disparities. I think making a connection with the Northway thing that you were talking about.
Yep.
Connection, yeah. And then also breakfast bites, I think continuing to attend stuff like that is good. Political goals, we have share agendas with lobbyists, but then again, that kind of goes down to the last point which you made, which is research ideas for effective policy changes. I mean, I think we need to know, more about
The best practices.
before we can even, say our opinions. And that's where I think OAP and JCA could help. So connecting with those two, I think, are big things. And then direct service programs is developing a training. You see, I keep my on the non-white domestic culturally competent.
How about
That's right.
we just identify what Andre is not responsible for?
Yeah, what am I not responsible for?
Exactly.
No, just so you know, if I were to do a SWOT analysis, my strengths are anything dealing with the interaction with individuals and technology. Follow through, all that other stuff is not on that list of strengths. So.
We'll have to send you email reminders.
Right. So that kind of stuff. Only because, and the other thing is that I overcommit on a regular basis. So.
You call me like, are we meeting today? I'll say yeah.
Yeah. And
But
I heard
I
it in
hear
her
you.
voice, like, yeah. So there's that.
I'm like,
I just put the
that's
SWOT
fine.
analysis on the website, so it's on there. If there's ever any, spelling is not also on the S. So if you see grammatical stuff or stuff that doesn't make sense, I can correct that. So,
Did you plug in the template as it is, or did you kind of have to build it? The reason I'm asking is, could we do Courtney's idea of throwing in a call to action or a mission or something like that?
Yeah.
Incorporate that into the SWOT?
yeah,
Okay,
yep,
that's
yep. Send it to me and I'll plug it in. Actually, send it to me and I'll plug it in. We'll need to create a Google account because what I did was I just did a Google document and I just embedded it in the website. So,
Oh, okay.
And you already have that, right? Email.
and I can share that document, and people can add. This is what I love about technology. Yeah, I can share this, right?
So the next meeting, we'll have a SWOT presentation.
But to share it.
Presentation on progress.
Excuse me.
Signed areas.
So maybe on that SWOT document, it doesn't even have to be anything that you have to send. You can just put on there like, you
Another
know,
box.
yep, yeah, and just another little box there that says, your mission and your call to action for the circle or something like that. Your investment.
Okay.
I have to quote Michael Jackson. Feel the world.
Is that going to be part of your presentation?
It is.
Don't give it all away. Then.
Okay.
Well, if there's a potential allyship component to developing a training for service providers, I would love to be involved in that.
Okay.
And Andre, I'd like to talk to you about allyship anyway.
Mhm.
Give you some more information about who we are and what we're up to.
So we should try to meet, because I wanna, see whatever, if I can be a part of the training that you're gonna develop with the non-white domestic cultures, even if it's to get, Native American educators involved in that process or whatever. We should try to have a meeting outside of this meeting to talk about that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So that would be that. So I guess, the next meeting Cam wants to be invited to, because he
Mhm.
put that on his card. So we will tell him that we met today. No, I'm just kidding. But, so then I have us doing the SWOT presentation on the progress on our assigned areas, and then, is there anything else that you guys can think of we should do at the next meeting?
Well, since the rest of the group isn't here, they would probably want to be involved in some of those goals, or
Mm-hmm.
so we should probably discuss what we talked about today. Who's missing exactly? from-
Comanche, Lanti, and Cedric,
Okay.
and Adele.
Okay.
And I'm already meeting with Adele.
Harvey's no longer here,
Mm-hmm.
so he didn't get a chance to.
Mm-hmm. I'm meeting with Adele so I can talk to her about this stuff too. And then.
So we could just review
Yeah, so review our previous
what was
meetings.
discussed at the last.
We should always do that. We
Yeah.
should always review our goals. So we can get those, I guess, should I bring the whiteboard back and have it on that? Or what do you think is the best way?
6 times today that I was like looking for a whiteboard behind me, but there wasn't one.
Is that helpful if I had a
It would be.
whiteboard?
I don't know, for me.
Probably.
Is
Okay.
there one in there?
I mean, but our own, so it always has the
Oh.
same goals on it.
Wow. Okay. Sorry. I just saw something.
Review previous meeting.
Well, so we've identified immediate goals. How much time and energy do we want to put in, at this point, into developing a more fleshed out work plan that includes our up to 10-year vision
Mhm.
of long-term goals? I mean,
Well, so do we want this to be the bones of the plan?
I think so.
Okay, so then that should probably be given out at the next meeting?
Okay.
I think it should be, I think we should agree on a framework. We should either adopt this or we should work this into our 4 conversations framework, because I
Mhm.
think it is confusing otherwise. Um,
Yeah, the individual pieces in here, like, as a separate topic, they're integrated into the
Right.
other goals.
So you said a 4 conversations framework.
Right, so here we have it split out in, what are we?
3 sections.
6?
Hmm.
6 goals. Develop racial equality in hiring and employment practices, which that one lines up very neatly with our employer conversation. It's basically the same thing.
Mhm.
Expand access to high-quality, career-relevant, integrated education systems. That doesn't really fit into what we've been talking about so
Mhm.
far. That was just something that we identified as a necessary piece of
Provision.
addressing disparities. Employment service providers will provide high-quality services that are targeted to needs valued by clients and are culturally competent. So that's mostly social services. There's stuff in there that would apply to individuals. There's stuff, yeah, pretty much.
Mhm.
And then the second one, employment service providers will develop programming based on business needs. That's mostly service providers, but also has some employer pieces in it. Increase public awareness of disparity and improve perception / reduce stereotypes of welfare recipients. Some of that stuff we were edging toward in our individual conversation today, but I think that's also almost a policy level thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then our last one is clearly policy. Enforcement of public policy.
I think it would just be helpful, like, the next time to take these, like you said, as the bones and put it into the framework. But,
Yes.
you know, by going, even if it does fit into individual and employer, which one are we gonna put it under? So if
Mhm.
as we're tracking whether or not we're meeting our mission, that we can say, you know, we had done such and such thing
Yeah.
under the employment, you know, and
Mhm.
for employment solutions, and this is what we did.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I like the 4 conversations framework idea to
Mhm.
have, and so if we could maybe split this up and make it into 4 areas, and then like she said, with that picture that you do with the having the 4 goals and then having the small goals underneath it, how we can reach it.
Well, and then from that we can kind of branch off. I mean, it could even, like you said, be a working document so that we can have like a, almost like a, I don't know, what would be the best thing on a computer to do that, but it would be best to do it on a computer, I think, so that you can always like make copies of it or add into it.
Okay.
But, you know, like some sort of, even maybe PowerPoint, and each slide is employment, political, blah, 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 and then our goals under it, and then we can, you know,
And that's why the
put
website
what
would
our
be cool,
action plans
because
are.
our
Oh,
website
yeah.
could be.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you thinking?
Have you ever seen Prezi?
Yeah, Prezzi's
Yeah.
rocks.
Yeah.
I could
Prezi is
do that.
rocks?
Prezi?
It's this new PowerPoint kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a
Oh.
presentation software,
Yeah.
but it works by zooming in and
Mhm.
out of things. So everything, instead of having individual slides, everything is on one space.
It's non-linear, where PowerPoint is
Mhm.
linear.
Right.
It's the-
So
this-
like we could have your
Hence the circle.
diagram,
Mhm.
and then the goals could be little teeny, but you could zoom in, and then you could zoom in.
So it
and
looks like a
out.
mind map
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd
Yeah.
love it. It's Prezi.com,
Hercules.
Prezi. You should look it up. It's
Yeah.
free, there's a free version.
There's a
anyway,
free version.
online.
Wait, Prezi.
Like present,
Okay.
Prezi.
Yep.
.com.
The one thing about it is that anything that you create when you're using the free version is on the web and anybody can look at it. So you just, want to be mindful of that if it's something that you wouldn't want the whole world to potentially be able to.
Mhm.
But there aren't a lot of like pirates just looking for Prezi
You
presentations.
never know.
Right.
We saw one about how you can be more green in the office. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I haven't played with it a whole lot, but I think you probably like it.
Yeah. Well, so do we think that's something that we could maybe work with for the next time? Like, if I looked it up and maybe put like a idea of a framework, and then we could work with it a little bit?
Yeah, and I mean, in the meantime, I'll bring we can always get PowerPoint capabilities in here, computer, projector, all that stuff. It's just a lot to set up and remember, and I'm gonna be honest, I probably may not always have that mental capacity to remember to bring all
Well,
those
we have
things.
a objector. Yeah.
Okay.
Objector. It's way
And
up.
even so, even if we had it on there, then we could put it on our website for like us to
Yeah.
view, so that, whoever is taking notes can put it,
Yeah, that'd be
in the
cool if I could take
respective
notes directly
ideas.
on the website.
Yeah, I mean, we
Make it
can,
better.
do it however we wanna do it in here, but
Yeah.
then transfer our notes from the day
Over
onto
to
the Prezi document.
Mhm. Yep.
So that it's just
be awesome.
So how do we wanna do this?
Now, which one of us, I have the most, do we both have the most
yeah.
up-to-date?
Mhm.
Okay. One of us will email you the most up-to-date version of this.
Can you put it up in Google Docs? And
Yeah.
then we can just share it? You can share it
Mhm.
with us.
Do you have a Gmail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll still email it to me then?
Sure.
So the agenda will be the SWOT presentations, presentation on progress on assigned areas, review previous meeting, go over our goals, and then talk about the 4 conversations framework for the working plan. Yep, that sound about right? Okay. And then, oh, Jesus, Lord have mercy.
Like this?
Paper cuts hurt too.
I know. Oh,
That's horrible.
such a shocker.
Okay, so, and I'm just really dramatic anyway, so it doesn't take much. So, under the.
Yeah.
What?
Fill out an incident report.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, like I got that.
We have HR that's a little.
You can get gangrene from a paper cut.
Oh my God. I need a workers' compensation for this.
Yeah.
So, Andre, Christine, and Cedric, I'll talk to Cedric. We'll give our feedback on the 7-chamber meeting process at the next
Mhm.
meeting. So we're moving in the right direction. I think we're
Yeah.
moving, we're doing stuff, you know,
Yeah.
this is great. And plus it's the holiday season, so a lot of stuff is gonna
It's
get
the
done.
most wonderful time of the year.
That was free.
Perfect voice.
He was in the choir. Are you in the choir?
I
No?
used to be long time.
Carry on. So yeah, so we'll just give our feedback on, does everybody have the areas that they're working on? You're looking at Prezi?
I'm looking at Fuzzy.
You're gonna get your SWOT analysis done?
Oh, yeah, okay. Wait, how many, oh yeah, I have to go onto the website.
Or I can email you the SWOT. I'll email you the SWOT that everybody else has. And so then Andre, I'm gonna contact you after I get in contact with Cedric and find out, you know, just, I'll probably go to have a meeting with him and just let him know what we talked about and find out what his involvement wants to be.
Okay.
Period, but also with regards to this, you know, to see how he feels moving forward. And then, give you a call,
Thank you.
schedule an appointment with you. Are you going out of town anytime this
No.
season? Okay.
No.
And then, we'll plan on meeting in January, July. And then Annika is going to, doing her SWOT analysis. You're gonna meet with OIP with me when I schedule that?
I would love to, yes.
Okay.
If we can make that work.
So we'll be doing that.
Can you put this on the website so that you can add in that information?
Yep.
And then you're also coming to the Eastside Neighborhood Services presentation, so we can kind of start maybe developing a employer recognition.
Oh, I mean the tree trucks?
Yes.
Oh.
What did I say?
Eastside Neighborhood Service.
Yes, it's at
But
Eastside
it
Neighborhood
is at-
Services.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry,
I'll
that's
send
what I
you
wrote
the
down.
information, yeah.
Okay, so
Where
that's,
is your office?
It's, right on West Broadway, but we're moving soon to St. Louis Park.
it's not over on Wyckoff?
It is, we have
That was so hard to
4
find.
different locations. Oh my gosh.
Just like, take a left, and then take another left, and then take another left, and take another
I
left.
got yelled at the other day by one of the participants because they said, we're on, I don't even know where they were. That was the whole point, you know?
Mhm. Yes,
They were
it's
on, like,
at-
if somebody was like, I'm on, you know, Plymouth. I'm like, well, Plymouth runs forever. I have no
Right.
idea where you are, you know?
Up on University.
So I'm like, well, how do I get there? I'm like, I really couldn't tell you. Hang on. I'm like setting up a Google document, pulling up the map. I'm like, okay, you are here. Okay, you have to walk,
Wow.
you know. And they're like, why don't you know this? I'm like, because I don't know where you are right now at this present time. Like, I need to know. You can't just tell me you're on university. You know, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I had somebody call me once and tell me they were by a McDonald's. And then while she was on the phone, she ran into a parked car, and it was just like, oh, God, you are somewhere in Northeast Minneapolis. running into parked cars near
Right.
McDonald's, and that's not really that helpful.
Oh my God.
Ay, ay, ay. Yes, so I am, what am I doing?
You're going to, you already did
Yes.
your SWAT, so you're gonna go to EAC or
The training
supported,
trust
yes,
thing?
Yes.
thank you.
So we're doing that, and
And
we're
you're gonna meet
working
with
on.
OAP with me.
Yep.
Yep.
Um,
And then you're also going to further your, with the allyship, find out how you can
right.
potentially work
Start-
together.
Yeah, start talking about, developing training programs.
Yes.
And research best practices.
And research best practices. And then, did you do your SWOT
Mhm.
analysis?
So I have to do that. I'm going to the tree trust thing. I'm putting the document up on Google.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will call Chamber to see how I get on the newsletter.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a big one. The chamber stuff. I can't believe I put my name down on it.
I don't know. But it should be, I mean, it should be easy, and particularly if success breeds success. So if we don't do the Minneapolis chamber,
Mhm.
that's fine. But
We
if
do
we get
another
to
one.
the smaller chambers, we hit a few of them and get success and momentum built up, then they can't resist us.
Right.
Of course.
What are you looking, I'm so sorry, because I know we've talked about this forever now, but what exactly is our goal of going to these chamber meetings?
Yes, that's a good question. And we are going to go to them to
Okay.
educate them on the disparities that exist. Also, discussing their current affirmative action plans that they have.
Okay.
And then also provide for them, in conclusion, providing for them resources, to
To
have some
better-
diversity training
yeah.
and to better their, capacity to receiving African American, Native American employees.
So that's on like a large business scale.
Mm-hmm.
That's on the employer piece.
Yes.
But-
But locally.
Yeah, it's not necessarily big businesses though.
Yeah.
It might be
There's
small
smaller
local-
businesses too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
a
so
lot
like when I
of-
went to the Ham Lake Chamber of Commerce, that's not big business. There are no Fortune 500 companies in there. But those are the people who would hire our folks.
Mhm.
You know, so whereas Minneapolis, I would imagine, you know, head of Target is there, head of Goodwill might be there, blah, blah, blah. And they may or may not actually hire our folks. But these lower level, smaller places, like the North Metro,
What you
is
talked
mostly
about?
Blaine.
Oh, okay.
And then there's the North Twin Cities something, which is in Mounds View. You know, so there are these smaller chambers that is really easy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm thinking, because you were talking about like Seward area.
That's something different. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be our employer recognition event. That's something which you're similar doing to at Eastside. That's what that would be.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yeah.
And I'll
a
write
little
this
bit.
stuff down, so on the board, so we can see it more clearly.
I'm just thinking, for instance, I've been talking a lot with the North Minneapolis Small Business Association. So if we wanted to do a presentation to them,
Mhm.
I've been going to their meetings, so I can do that.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
good.
Okay.
that's the kind of
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
really I'm not, you know, we're not trying to get IBM and Honeywell and those kind of folks
Yeah.
at this point.
Okay.
But
so
just
you're talking make some success.
Yeah.
Small
swirl in
success.
the
small,
center.
yeah.
Like all of my can you tell I'm like a very visual person, and I don't know if you guys know this, but I danced for a really long time, and so for me it's like a big production. So when I see things, I see like action, like swirling into the center. So you'll hear things like that from me all the time.
Yep, that's cool.
We're gonna dance our way to blah blah blah. You'll hear that.
And 3 and 4 and
You choreograph our next meeting.
that's right.
That could be our production.
Hey.
That'd be awesome. And then, yeah, that's it. I think that's all we have.
was part of the recognition, a part of the, yeah, oh wait, I'll say my piece after you're done.
No, that was it. I was just gonna say where everybody has their stuff, and I'll get in contact with you, and then I will try to get in contact with you as much as I can with Cedric, and then I'll also I'm gonna try to touch base with Vanya and Comanche and Lanti to just kind of bring them up to speed, so we don't have to spend so much time
Yeah.
at the next meeting.
Are Comanche and Monty coming on Wednesday?
Most likely, Comanche was ill today, and then I think Lanti has somebody who got hit by a car or something. I'm sorry. It was something along those lines. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say it like that.